know the feeling. Seriously. I've had the most bizarre technology challenges in the last like 6 months. It's just been strange, but oh well. Cool. Okay. Yay. So we're live. Yay. Welcome to another Behind the Stories. I'm here with Kate, the fantastic author of Alterations. And we're here basically to tell you guys all about the inspirations behind this absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous book. So we're just going to jump right into it. And by the way, Kate came with some special photos that I'm so excited we have these to share with you. So anyway, so what was the moment that made you say, oh my gosh, I have got to write this book?
I was sitting in Toni Ann Johnson's breakfast nook, and she's like, you love old movies. You know everything about old movies. Why don't you write something set there? So I went through and read biographies of my favorite people from the films, Cary Grant, Barbara Stanwyck, Edith Head. I'd always wanted to design costumes when I was a teenager, so I had read everything about her. And it was Cary Grant's story that kind of made me realize what shape the story would take. He was with the love of his life, Randolph Scott, who was also an actor. They lived together for 7 years, and they were pretty open about it. And the studio was not an especial fan of their very handsome young star dating another man. So they actually found Cary Grant a wife, and they sent them off. Randy went on the honeymoon with them, and Randy moved in with them. So this went on for years, and they seemed, pretty happy together. And I think it was on one shoot, it was rumored that they were a little too openly together, and the studio put its foot down. And ostensibly, so the lore goes, Cary chose job over love of his life, and that made me very sad. So my story centers around, you can go to the first slide, Barbara Stanwyck and Edith Head in Hollywood, and my main character, Adriana, has come over from Italy and starts working for Edith Head, who was the head of Paramount Pictures costume design. She would design every costume for the movie. She was an absolutely exceptional person. And so Adriana is a seamstress for her. She also develops, even though and Adriana falls in love with Rose, who's a bit player, and they move in together. And much like you did in those days, if nobody talked about it, no one would really notice they were a couple. Over the process of the story, she develops a bit of a crush on Missy, who is what people who knew Barbara Stanwyck called her. And this is the back in time story for the novel. One thing about Edith Head, you can go to the next slide, is that because she was a woman, she was one of the few who noticed women's bodies. It seemed like the guys were always designing for one kind of type, and they would honestly pick body before actress. But there were more versatile actresses allowed to work in, this is a famous dress. It's actually from the 50s. My story is set in the 30s, that Bette Davis wore in All About Eve. And you can see the dresses sliding off her shoulders. And that was actually a mistake. So a lot of what Edith Head had to do was design around what was going on with women's bodies. And Bette Davis refused to ever wear a bra. And this made it difficult to design for her. So she would make sure that something had a little bit of a low cut and would sort of, call away attention from the fact that Betty was not shaped like folks with the bra on. And the way this slid off, this is a very famous scene in All About Eve where she is in a reckless mood and she turns around at this moment in this dress and says, fasten your seatbelts, it's going to be a bumpy night. So I wanted to this actually isn't in the book. I just wanted to share this because it just captures the spirit of Edith Head and what she was doing. Next slide. So Barbara Stanwyck had a very long body, and Edith had found that if she broke up her body with different seams and lines, it sort of really worked for her. And in this case, in a another Eve story. This one's called The Lady Eve, is a sitcom with Henry Fonda. She wore this dress, and it caused such a scandal that there was a letter writing campaign from angry people all over the country about the indecency of this dress. Adriana comes into Paramount after this movie, but before Ball of Fire. And I have her sew the dress in the next slide as part of the story. And it caused even more of a scandal because not only is it a midriff, the skirt is not an actual skirt. She's wearing jazz shorts, and the skirt is all legs. It's just strips of sequins. And so it sort of centers around that time and that movie. But so anyway, this is the back in time part of the story. The story has a contemporary time set in the 90s in Baltimore. And it's from the point of view of Adriana's granddaughter and her great-granddaughter, who are, through various circumstances, forced to live with her over a summer. And it's a family drama. Next slide. And one of the reasons that it was so important to me to talk about what it was like to be gay in a time when it was not centered and in a time when it might be dangerous for you. This is a picture of my great aunt Ruth, who has my grandfather on her knee. Aunt Ruth lived in Jacksonville, Florida in the 1920s, worked as a reporter on The Independent Woman. She living life as a woman working was very unusual. And she also lived with the love of her life, Mary. Their story is happy. They lived together forever. My grandfather, when he was old enough, would go around and do chores for them. And she lived this incredibly amazing life. She started an organization for business women and ran a chapter of it. And The Independent Woman, if you can ever catch a copy of it, is absolutely phenomenal. It talks about women in the 20s and 30s who were business women. And given the lore that we're given, and that people always tell you women were not working, it's kind of like this larger lie. She is proof opposite. And so is Adriana from the book. So that's the end of the slideshow.
Oh, that was fabulous. Yes. Wow, what a great backstory. Just had to put that out there.
Yeah, thank you. And I did want to say that, so one thing about Adriana is that she gets to a certain point at which decisions are no longer being made for her, and the decision to be with the love of her life, and also the decision to still be employed, are played with, and life sort of takes her in other directions. So the story of the book is about sort of the repercussions that decisions she makes in her youth have through generation in her family. There's generational trauma in there.
Oh, wow. Now, I think you basically covered at least parts of this already, but
yeah,
what really first sparked the story?
It came from a number of different places. This one was a real, I sometimes have an idea for kind of what a whole story will look like. This didn't happen this way. I went to the 30s, I went inside these characters, and I moved around. I started realizing that Adriana, as an older woman, didn't really have the capacity to take care of her newly orphaned great-granddaughter or of her granddaughter, who's in her late 20s. And so it was more sort of going in through the dynamics of that. And the story kind of took shape on its own. It took its own life. I mean, it took a very long time to write, but it took on its own life. So I can definitely say the spark was my passion for movies of that period. And then it definitely got into women's ability to move through the world in that time and things that affected it. My mom was a newspaper reporter in the 1950s. When she got married, she went into work and they said, "What are you doing here? You got married." And she's like, "I'm working." And they said, "Well, you have to take care of your husband." She's like, "I'm putting him through graduate school, you know." And then when she got pregnant, she basically got fired, you know, because the 1950s did not allow for her to continue working.
Wow. Oh my. Why do you feel this story is important now?
Well, sadly, things are rolling back for women for sure. So I think it is important to talk about, we've always been here, and so have queer people and people in love, and sort of being in that time period, dealing with difficulties there. I think maybe I got a lot of inspiration from my great aunt as we move forward in this increasingly misogynist country. In sort of how they navigated those spaces. And also, I just wrote an article, people can find it on my Substack, about Barbara Stanwyck and Edith Head and how they were moving through incredibly oppressive times and managed to. Edith Head, again, was the first woman who ran a studio. The only way she did that was working for a quarter of the money and doing all of the designing instead of just dresses. And Barbara Stanwyck was one of the only women who managed to bounce from studio to studio, depending on the roles she wanted. That was unheard of in those days. In those days, if you're a woman, you signed your soul to a studio and you belonged to them.
Oh, yeah.
So I feel like there's inspiration in there.
Oh, gosh, yeah. Now, you just put out a lot of incredible questions. But
too much information. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Thank you. I guess.
What were some of the ones that you were really obsessed with answering as you just developed Alterations?
Yeah, they would come up as I was moving along. The question there was, Edith Head being the only woman in this position was in a tenuous position. And we learned that people accused her lightheadedly of being gay by saying she was going to hen parties. If she ever appeared without a husband, people would start insinuating stuff, because how could a strong woman be anything but? So those are questions that went forward, and also how it was to move as a working woman in Los Angeles, and also a lot of what Los Angeles was like at the time. That was really fun research. So it's when you read it, you'll be sunk right into the city in 1939. I had no idea until I did the research that Melrose was a dirt road for a good while.
Okay.
Living on the Formosa Cafe was already there. And, so there's a lot of, you really do sort of sink into it. So there's a lot of love for the city for sure.
Oh, wow. That's fabulous.
Oh, and yeah, in the present day story, Laura has left Los Angeles on the heels of a relationship that kind of took over her career. She was in development, and suddenly she was taking care of this guy who was becoming vice president of a company, vice president of production at a studio. Mm-hmm. And she kind of lost her career to the guy. And so there's a lot of the romantic comedy trope is in there, and our belief in it, I think, can sometimes misguide women as to what the point is when they go into careers and things. And she realizes she's sort of taking stock in what it is she wants from life.
Oh, wow. That was perfect. What kind of an emotional ride do you feel readers should experience?
I think you just sort of, you sink into story. It starts with grief because Lizzie, who is 13, her mother has died, Becca. And Becca and Laura, who's the 29-year-old who moves in, were very, very close growing up. And Adriana is having a different kind of grief that we learn about later. So it's sort of layered. So there is sadness, but there's a lot of, in the beginning, but then every one of them goes through their own emotional journey. And the story from the past sort of feeds the one from the present. So it's a very sort of like, you should expect to settle in and feel like comfy and be taken on a story where little things are revealed all the way throughout. So I hope it would just be sort of a satisfying, really beautiful escape. That would be my biggest hope for it.
Oh, fabulous. Now, you already mentioned this took a little bit to write. What did you feel like the hardest parts to dig into, to really write?
Yeah, 3 storylines. I was so excited when I started this book. I had the idea, I had the present, I had the past, and I was writing, and everything was going beautifully for about 35 pages. And then I fell to pieces. So it did take 3 years to build it. And I ended up writing the back in time because part first, because I had the strongest idea of it. And then I wove the present in throughout. And I had to do a lot of, people have always, they keep asking me, how did you get such a solid structure? I mean, it felt like it really held together. And it was like many index cards, a lot of pulling of hair, and a lot of cutting. I wrote a good 100 more pages. And then I ended up cutting that and then writing 60 more. You know, this was the hardest book developmentally to create, but it kind of holds up. I mean, in structurally, which made me very happy to see. So there was a lot of weaving and then going through and just cutting out. I got a note from my mom, who was a writer, and she gave me notes on the book, which was it's just really nice to have this out there because of that. And she said, "This is great. Now take out everything that's not the book." And it is the hardest note to hear, but that was exactly what I said about doing in rewriting it.
Oh, actually, that's fabulous feedback. Absolutely.
Yeah, right? Because then I was going into each scene and saying, does this need to be here? What are we? And also, is this, there were in the rearranging, it's like, how does this ride feel for the reader? Tony Ann Johnson did give me notes on the book, and one of it was like, you just killed me. You can't keep killing me. You have to give me a little breather after what you just did to me with that last scene. So there is a bit of heartbreak for those who are reading. Yeah.
Oh boy. Now, where were you in your life as you were writing this book, as the story took shape? And how do you feel writing the story may have changed you?
Oh, that's interesting. I had just sent off my horror novel, which was my first published novel. We always write ones before that. I wrote one when I was 15 and another one that never went anywhere. But there was a huge span of time in when it got picked up to when it got published. And so I wrote it in there. And I was just sort of pursuing the noveliness of it. So it was a lovely space to dwell, which I hope it is for the reader as well. I've heard from some readers that it is. And let me see, I had kids in middle school. It was pretty intense on that front, but it was also really nice to escape all of everything that was going on in their life and go into this really peaceful, submersive sort of world. So doing a lot of that.
Okay. Do you feel like this changed you at all? I mean, you did mention
yeah, I believe it did. I mean, the journey was, once I came out the other end, I got really heartsick when there was a period after where you're submitting it and you're not working on it. I really fell in love with all these characters. And I really fell in love with the time. And then once I found the balance to the book and I was doing like sentence by sentence rewrite, I definitely got attached. And so it made me feel I was like capable of doing a really hard woven novel. I think that ever since I read Another Country by James Baldwin, I've been after that, sort of balancing a bunch of different characters, having different experiences in life. I'm definitely not comparing myself to James Baldwin. He was amazing. But that was sort of what I was striving for in my journey with this book. So that was different. That changed me. And also I feel like Rose and Adriana's story like changed me in its own beauty, in their love for each other, and also in how things. Yeah, I'm going to stop there. That is a spoiler. So anyway, that love is a long thing. When I sign this book, I write inside love is always, because there's that layer, and there are layers of love. And Adriana also has a deep love for her granddaughter, and she's trying to navigate the fact that she might not have done well by her own kids, and that might have had an impact on these girls who are staying in her house this summer.
Wow. Is there anything that really surprised you as you were writing this, as you were exploring these characters?
Um, I did sort of let them tell the story. So Rose surprised me. Rose had come in as just this really colorful character who works in casting and takes care of you and is really funny. And
Mm.
I was simultaneously writing and researching. And so I did not know Rose would be the love of Adriana's life until Rose had already come into being. So that was a really delightful surprise. And
Mm.
also going in the ups and downs relationship, it's not always, smooth sailing happily ever after. There are, two real people with their own real needs and wants. So going in there was good. So I'd say it surprised me pretty much at every turn. Laura definitely makes a lot of mistakes that I feel like I did or I witnessed in my 20s. So those were kind of fun to explore. And the ending definitely surprised me. So that was nice.
Cool. Now, I mean, you already mentioned that for you, the ending surprised you. What have readers told you they were totally not expecting?
A lot of them said they didn't expect their hearts to be broken quite so quickly. And the way it came together was sort of unexpected to them. And I think also many of my readers were not expecting not horror. That's a real simple. So it's like, wait, maybe they kept waiting for a murder or something, but because they didn't expect this kind of more lyrical. I don't like saying literary because I believe horror is literary, but they didn't expect this sort of voice for me as a writer.
Understood. And I actually, I agree with you. I believe horror is a form of literary. So
and there's some gorgeous horror out there.
Oh, agreed. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Who do you feel will fall the hardest for this book?
Gosh, it's a really good question because they always ask you that question, like, who is this book for? And I think that women, anybody of any age will feel seen, as far as workplaces. Laura goes into her own workplace. She ends up working at the aquarium in Baltimore, and that is rife with its own peril. And but I do believe that younger readers can kind of go away on the romance of it, because there's romance in Laura's life and there's also romance in Adriana and Rose's romance is another one. So people who love a love story. And I think anybody who's ever been a fan of old Hollywood will just definitely feel taken care of there, because that's where I was geeking out the hardest. Not in an explainy way, but I really wanted to put people in those moments, working on a set and having all those stars walking around. So there are a lot of Easter eggs in there for them.
Oh, cool. Now, you already mentioned you took out like 100 pages. Is there anything among all that, I'm assuming, gorgeous writing that you wish you had not taken out?
No, it definitely was the stuff that wasn't the book. So it worked out. I had to do that. And I should say, for writers out there, sometimes you have to do that writing to get into a character. So there was a lot of that. There was also there was a point of view from Bart, who is Lizzie's uncle, who's kind of in charge of her care, because his brother died, Lizzie's parents. And his point of view was in there, but it didn't serve the story very well. So I went back and wove him in as an observed character rather than a told one.
Got it.
So.
Wow. And is there anything that you kept in that you wish you didn't?
Oh, no, the thing I have to say about this book is that I did so many rewrites, and I sat with it. It did go out with an agent a while ago, and I sat with it, did a couple rewrites there. I did a rewrite for Running Wild. So I was very satisfied with what was in there, and there was very little I cut. I think I actually added just some elements of a character for Lizzie's friend to be a little bit more simpatico for her. But yeah, no, I feel like it's all in there. And there's nothing that, like, So far, so good.
Okay. Is there a character that really challenged you more than the others? And if so, why?
Yeah, absolutely. Laura was very hard because in your 20s, you get so self-absorbed and you are making all the mistakes and you're also self-conscious. And I rendered a lot of that, but she ended up getting a little too difficult, I think, for even a reader. And so I had to cut back on a few of the quips she had, especially in her inner thoughts about Lizzie and her circumstances, and also to humanize her a bit more in her relationship with this incredibly complicated family that she lives in. So that was probably the biggest learning curve with her.
Oh, I love it. Now let's say someone picks this up and they get like 20 pages in. What keeps them going?
I think the fact that it jumps around and you're kind of like, so how do these people match together? And how do their stories come together? So I hope that curiosity, that was one of the rewriting, was to make sure that the front of the book told you the book it was going to be. So I did pull stuff out from later and pull it up front. And the entry point was all three of these people knowing that Becca, who is Lizzie's mom, had died and sort of how it's affecting them. And so, yeah, the hope is that, it's woven enough of a spell. I would say maybe go with 30. And, we do open in old Hollywood with a really snappy number. So you know that is going to happen for you when you read it.
Cool. Is there a mood that you feel the reader should be in when they first jump into the story to really enjoy it?
It's a good story for a hammock or a bathtub or a sofa, somewhere they're cozy and can really settle down, maybe a cup of tea. And I think, it's funny because I think about this a lot because my daughter always says, I wasn't in the mood for that book, that kind of thing. And it's funny because after she finished the book, right before it was published, she sent me these selfies of her weeping. I think it's just, get ready to be transported, and it's not a super heavy plot book. It's character. Dwell in each scene and read it when you're in a good mood to do, a comfy mood to do so. And also I think that you can, read it in small chunks and put it down. Toward the end, it starts moving really quickly, so that may not happen for you. But I believe that it kind of holds in a way. You can read it episodically if you must. I think it'd be an amazing 10-part series. I'm just putting that out there.
Just saying.
Just saying.
Actually, I think you already answered the next question. Why would someone pick up this book?
Oh, you know why? Is this beautiful cover by Amir Orosevic from Running Wild. It's just stunning.
Isn't he brilliant?
He's so brilliant. The composition is brilliant. And you know that my husband designed a Christmas card around the cover. It was so pretty.
It was gorgeous.
Oh, it makes me so happy. So that's why you would pick it up. But also, as someone who cares a lot about what books look like, I think the design is really nice and it's really comfy. And each character has each of their sections is labeled. And it's just a real clear read. And you can read it in tiny little pieces if you just keep it by your bedside, or you can gobble it up all the way through.
Fabulous. So anyone who's watching, know that you can pick up Alterations anywhere books are sold, and at least through the end of March. The ebook version is actually on sale for 99 cents. So if you want to
know that,
that's for Women's History Month. Yeah.
And so is that only through Amazon, or is that other places as well? The ebook,
anywhere ebooks are sold.
Oh, that's wonderful. I will advertise that. But I also want to recommend to people, if you like an audiobook, this is a beautifully read audiobook. I was so pleased with the result. It's
now I have to find it again. Hold on.
Yeah.
And I'll put a link in the chat.
Yeah, it's
Isn't it?
on Audible and it's on Audible and iBook, wherever you can find audiobooks. It's absolutely beautifully read. She nailed the characters. Um, it's a fun one. And I think it's nice to sort of I consume a lot of books by audiobooks because I have to read a lot of student work. And I
Mhm.
really enjoyed that one a lot.
Oh,
Jenny
absolutely.
Kutnow is the reader, and she just really went into, you feel like you're in the 1930s, you feel like you're in a salty 13-year-old teenager in the 90s. Like every one of the characters, you feel like you're really living.
Oh, yes. Yes. Yay!
Yay!
Oh, fantastic. And with that, Kate, as always, a distinct pleasure. I absolutely adore when we have an opportunity to hang out. So
Yeah.
again, folks,
And thank you
please.
so much for publishing this book. It's been a beautiful experience all the way through with Running Wild. So thank you.
Oh, I'm so, so glad. Thank you. Guys, don't forget, you have to pick this up. I know I say that for all of our books, but it's still true. So